Uh, Thank you very much and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Read the statement as follows. On the 11th of April 2024, countries of the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project, popularly known as e-tolls, were officially disconnected from the e-toll system across the province, following the initial announcement by Finance Minister Gauteng during his 2022 midterm budget policy statement that e-tolls will be scrapped. The South African National Roads Agency, the National Department of Transport, the National Treasury, and the Gauteng Provincial Government finalized a memorandum of agreement to resolve the funding impasse. The Gauteng Provincial Government agreed to contribute 30% to settling this debt and interest obligations, while the national government will cover 70%. Congruent with this, the budget speech in March this year, the Gauteng Provincial Treasury announced that as part of the province's arrangement to service the debt, a provision for honoring this commitment has been penciled into the 2024 fiscal framework. The obligation to service this debt has necessitated the implementation of a host of reforms and measures to maintain a healthy fiscal environment that will be both sustainable and manageable in the long term. Today, the Gauteng Provincial Government is starting the process to service the historical debt of 12.9 billion in 5 equal annual installments at the government 5-year interest rate. The first installment that we are paying today amounts to 3.8 billion, and the SOG told me that the money is already in the account. So we've processed, we've paid 3.8 billion minus our, it's minus in our account. So we're 3.8 billion poorer, but not bankrupt. We are not bankrupt. So that's very important. We will never be bankrupt because the finances of the province are in good hands. So we can't be bankrupt. And we are also paying a maintenance portion of about 546 million. The implication of the e-toll debt requires the provincial government to manage finances in a prudent manner, whilst carefully balancing the service delivery needs of the citizens. The Gauteng Provincial Treasury has a 5-year budget approach that will facilitate provincial delivery based on the medium-term development plan for the 7th administration. The 5-year budget approach will focus on introducing and implementing immediate, short and medium-term budget reforms over the 2025 MTEF. This includes maintaining fiscal discipline and credibility and impactful service delivery. The fiscal trajectory of Gauteng Provincial Government must be addressed through a combination of active debt management strategies and spending restraints that improves the primary fiscal balance and elimination of wastage and leakages in the system. The province will need to allocate a substantial amount of funds each year for the next 5 years to meet the repayment obligations. Therefore, to address these fiscal challenges, the Gauteng Provincial Treasury is working with revenue collecting departments to identify alternative sources of revenue. This aims to ensure that the frontline services remains uncompromised, prioritizing programs that foster growth, safeguarding essential social services for vulnerable members of society, maintaining the provision of basic services in the province. Given the maintenance of fiscal discipline, the province will prioritize the reprioritization of budgets, identification of efficiency gains, and making a trade-offs to fund the government priorities. Fiscal discipline requires that government maintains fiscal positions that are consistent with macroeconomic stability and sustained economic growth. Furthermore, provincial departments and entities must explore alternative sources of funding to supplement the existing constrained revenue streams and thus enhance fiscal sustainability over the long term. Partnerships with the private sector, donor funding, developmental finance are among the possible alternative funding sources. The provincial government also views public-private partnerships as a key vehicle to not only deliver infrastructure, but for its ability to stimulate the economy, create jobs, and deliver projects in cost, time, and quality, whilst providing the upfront funding for these projects. Therefore, Gauteng Pays with revenue-raising potential will be prioritized. Our position is that any approach to the market for funding should be premised on securing funding to finance strategic infrastructure projects which have sound economic benefits to the province, create jobs, raise revenue, and potentially provide an avenue to pay back the e-toll debt. This approach is more sustainable and will prove far more beneficial to the citizens of Gauteng, with far more positive spin-offs than borrowing to pay the debt of e-toll. The 2025 budget will see a conclusion of the 2025 budget will see a conclusion of the National Fiscal Consolidation Strategy announced in the National 2020 Medium-Term Budget Policy Statement, with debt stabilizing primary surplus achieved in 2025-2026, a reduction in the fiscal deficit to pre-COVID levels, and a stabilization of debt service costs as a percentage of revenue. The Gauteng Provincial Government is therefore confident that through the measures and reforms mentioned above, the province will be able to service the e-toll debt, simultaneously providing much needed services to the citizens of Gauteng, whilst reaping the benefits of the spin-offs of proposed economic infrastructure initiatives. It is in this context that the provincial government would like to assure residents of Gauteng that we will not compromise our priorities in social services such as health and education. So we won't be retrenching teachers, we won't be cutting on scholar transport, school nutrition. So rest assured that despite the fact that we have constraints and difficulties, we are doing everything in our power, working with national government to ensure that service delivery is not affected. So the Gauteng Provincial Government is committed to continually engaging and working together with all stakeholders, particularly the residents of Gauteng, to explore adequate and stable funding solutions for road construction, maintenance, and upgrade to support economic growth and development. So that's, and as the department facilitate the strengthening of the finances, it is also important to reiterate that the user pay principle remains a government policy, and that the Gauteng Provincial Government is committed to continually engaging and working together with all stakeholders, as I've said, and particularly the residents. So we would like to thank you very much, and we will take questions.